Good day to everyone, and welcome to the renewed Explain the channel. My name is Nelli Orlova. I'm founder and CEO at InMind, which is the leading deal origination platform in Europe for technological startups and venture capital investors. InMind helps innovative entrepreneurs to reach out to relevant VC investors and get their projects funded. And today I want to talk with you about history of cryptocurrencies. We received a lot of interest from the community and a lot of great questions about what is the cryptocurrencies and why it matters and what potential does it have. But before talking and getting deep into the currencies world, I would like to explain you briefly how currencies emerged, the change that has undergone throughout history and the reason of cryptocurrencies. In that way, it would be easier for all of us to understand what kind of impact these currencies have and why they are creating such a huge revolution in nowadays. The money have been the part of human history for at least last 3,000 of years. Before our time, there was a direct system of trade, which was called bartering. It allowed people to exchange goods and services without any use of cash. For example, I have the chicken farm and you have the garden with potatoes. And we can exchange, I can give you chickens, you can give me potatoes, and that is how you do barter. Both of us are happy. But this system can't exist for a long time, because in that way, for example, if the next week I don't want potatoes anymore and I want rice or anything else, I can't trade with you anymore. Therefore, another system evolved called commodity money. From ancient times until several hundred years ago, money that considered on precious metals and other commodities was called commodity money. 1100 years before our era, Chinese were the first ones who replaced the tools and weapons used as medium of exchange for miniature circles, replicas of the same instruments in bronze. However, the first minted coins were invented in Lydia, actual Turkey, in around 600 years before our era. They were made from a mixture of silver and gold that comes from nature called electrum. Instead of constantly moving coins place to place, the Chinese government kept the coins all in one place and issued pieces of paper in their stead. This was the start of representative money, in which the money objects themselves are not valuable. From his travels in East, Marco Polo brought this concept back to Europe, where it gave rise to banking. Paper notes soon became common in the market and were allowed as means of payment. This shift increased international trade transactions. Banks began to buy currencies from other states, and this is how the first currency market has built up. Nevertheless, as most countries wanted to standardize transactions in the booming world trade market, a new monetary system was established in 1819 by the British. This one was the famous gold standard. It was the reality that gold had the role of payment method from the earliest times. But the first formal measure that authorized gold as a legal institution was taken in 1819 by the British. The gold standard is a monetary system where a country's currency or paper money has a value directly linked to gold. With the gold standard, countries agreed to convert paper money into a fixed amount of gold. A currency that uses the gold standard sets a fixed price for gold and buys and sells gold at this price. The main goal was to establish a fixed exchange rate between countries. In this way, international prices could be stabilized and nations' growth could be easier to control. By 20th century, the majority of developed states were linked to the gold standards. However, after the First World War in 1918 and the Great Depression in 1929, all countries, with the exception of US, decided to abandon this monetary system. The war nearly bankrupted the Bank of England and devastated Europe's economy, making governments to lose credibility and cooperation. After the Second World War, it was clear the world needed a new financial system. For this reason, delegates from 44 countries met in 1944 in New Hampshire to do so. From now on, the US dollar would be the only currency linked to the price of gold. 1 ounce of gold per $35. The other countries had to fix the price of their currencies in relation to the dollar, the unique coin convertible to gold. In this way, the exchange rates remained almost fixed with 1% positive or negative of variation. This agreement gave to America an enormous power, as it was the only country in the world with the ability to print dollars. It was called the Bretton Woods system. However, in 1971, the Bretton Woods system collapsed. The United States underwent a large stagflation, and the dollar's value in gold started to deflate. Finally, the President Nixon determined that the dollar was no longer convertible into gold. So when someone in nowadays questions the cryptocurrencies because they are not backed by gold or any other value, please remind this person 1971, and since then, US dollar and any other currency in the world, official currency, is not backed by gold standard anymore. Don't forget this. But let me go further. Little by little, the world's economy abandoned the gold standard, giving way to the fiduciary money. This new form of money was based on trust, since a number printed on a piece of paper marked its value. For instance, no paper money 50 or 100 euros is really worth it, nor is any currency worth the amount that composes it, but the whole community takes these values for granted and valid to be able to the market. Fiduciary money is controlled and issued for the central banks of each country and supra-international institutions, like, for example, supranational monetary fund. However, due to the huge development of the internet and the global financial crisis in 2008, an alternative to fiduciary money was needed. This is how digital and virtual currencies like cryptocurrencies emerged. And now let me walk you through the history of digital money. In 1946, John Biggins of Flatbush National Bank of Brooklyn, New York, created a system called Charge It, a bank-issued card that let people in a 2-square block radius charge purchases to the bank. Then it came the Diners Club card in 1950, providing proof of credit that could be honored by any participating store. Founded by Frank McNamara and Ralph Schneider, Diners Club was the first independent card company. In 1959, American Express introduced the plastic charge card, and Diners Club made the switch in 1961. In 1998, the PayPal was born. It was created by two technology entrepreneurs, Peter Thiel and Mark Slevchin. In fact, the first name of the company was not PayPal, it was Confinity. Tell us in comments if you knew this fact. The founder's idea was both simple and efficient: convince customers to share their personal emails, banking, and credit card information in return to fast, low-cost payments. Small businesses, online merchants, consumers quickly signed on, with the company handling more than $3 billion in payments from 10 million individual consumers and more than 2 million commercial customers within just 3 years after opening its doors. With about 300 million active users accounts and 9 billion payments in 2018, PayPal is a genuine e-commerce giant with a bright future and loyal user base. And now we come to the most exciting part of today's video, the birth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's creation is attributed to the alias Satoshi Nakamoto. The true identity of this individual or individuals remains a mystery even to this day. Some journalists claimed that they found Satoshi Nakamoto in the US or in Japan, but that never was confirmed in reality. Nakamoto was, however, very clear with his intentions. He wanted the concept of a traditional bank, a centralized financial institution, to become redundant. This is why Bitcoin does not operate on any centralized registry and why all transactions are made directly between users. The idea behind Bitcoin was introduced to the world on October 31st, 2008, at the depths of the global financial crisis. Nakamoto posted a message on a cryptography mailing list titled Bitcoin P2P eCash paper. In it was a link to a whole white paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Both of these are still available online. Check the description to this video to find all the relevant links. In these papers, Nakamoto laid out the concept for Bitcoin as a decentralized digital currency. Being decentralized means there is no single administrator, but rather a public ledger of transactions that anyone can store on their computer. Coins can be sent from user to user on the peer-to-peer Bitcoin network without the need of intermediaries. On 3rd January 2009, the blockchain was launched, when the first block, called the Genesis block, was mined. The first test transaction took place about 1 week later. For the first few months of its existence, it was obtainable only by miners validating the Bitcoin blockchain. At this point, Bitcoin had no real monetary value. It would take more than a year for the first economic transaction to take place, when a Florida-based man with nickname Laszlo negotiated to have 2 Papa John pizzas, valued at $25, delivered for 10,000 of Bitcoins. It happened on 22nd of May, 2010. That transaction essentially established the initial real-world price of value of Bitcoin at 4 Bitcoins per penny. And that same transaction would have a value of over $100 million. Can you imagine? This would probably be the most expensive pizza in the human history. In honor of this pivotal movement, cryptocurrency fans and supporters call May 22nd Pizza Day. In the early days, the first transactions with Bitcoin were negotiated on internet forums with people bartering for goods and services in exchange for Bitcoin, same as we had centuries ago. The value of Bitcoin was originally arbitrary. Then, in 2011, miners and coders started to build their own networks like Ethereum and Litecoin and began to improve the code behind Bitcoin's blockchain, adapting it for different uses. This wider base of applications brought in more individuals, which contributed partly to the increase of Bitcoin's perceived value. Once Bitcoin became available on exchanges in 2010, it became easier to buy, sell, trade, and store. Thanks to these exchanges, Bitcoin could also be priced against the US dollar. From a low of few cents in 2010 to $55,000 in October 2021, Bitcoin has come a long way and continues to dominate in the cryptocurrency markets. Using what's called peer-to-peer technology, cryptocurrencies remove middlemen like banks and governments, allowing direct transactions between a vast community of users. Because so many people are independently keeping track of these transactions, it is all but impossible for anyone to cheat. This format removes the problem of trusting millions of people. You need only trust the system. If we look back at Bitcoin creation in 2009, we see that the first altcoin came out only after 2 years. Then the rate of altcoin launches started to grow only from 2013-14. It went on increasing until now. There are many Bitcoin-like alternatives, which started from Bitcoin basics with some changes through a fork. If we look at altcoins, we can see that many of them come from a fork of famous and long-lasting cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. However, every altcoin has something that distinguishes it from others, such as differences in the scripting language, transactions management, additional features or security, mining based or not, with different consensus algorithms, and so on and so forth. They can also differ from Bitcoin simply because they have different built-in parameters, such as average time between blocks creation or block size. Ethereum, the first smart contract cryptocurrency. Ethereum was born at the beginning of 2013 and allowed the creation of smart contracts in the Turing-complete programming language. The innovative idea is to think that many contracts can correspond to a computer program. In fact, a contract is something which is fulfilled and can be applied when a series of conditions are met. The smart contracts are computer programs installed on the peer-to-peer network. In order to run, they pay the computational power required through a token called Ether, which therefore acts both as cryptocurrency and contract fuel. There are many examples of contracts already running on Ethereum network. For example, electoral systems, registration of domain names, financial markets, crowdfunding platforms, intellectual property, auctions, and so on. Ethereum is brainchild of Russian-Canadian computer programmer and co-founder of Bitcoin magazine, Vitalik Buterin. He envisioned a platform that could facilitate the peer-to-peer transfer of money, just like Bitcoin, but could also support decentralized applications, apps that operate independent on anyone's authority. Ethereum is a global and open source cryptocurrency and decentralized applications platform. It was launched in 2015 and quickly shot to the upper echelons of the cryptocurrency market. Today, with a market capitalization worth around 500 billion and commanding more than 10% of the whole cryptocurrency market, according to CoinMarketCap, Ethereum is rivaled only by Bitcoin in its popularity. Ethereum is the undisputed king of altcoins. Buterin first described Ethereum in a white paper in 2013, after he called months of frustrating work towards cryptocurrency 2.0, or so-called second generation of blockchain. This concept means the blockchain for more than digital money. Ethereum came to be for a couple of reasons. One was Buterin's utter distaste of centralized systems. And the other was his desire to deploy the flashy and exciting blockchain technology for more than just a money conduit. The team raised for the project via Ether crowd sale, raising the Bitcoin equivalent of $18 million at the time. This money enabled them to set up the Ethereum Foundation, which oversees Ethereum's development to this day. Ethereum went live in July 2015. Experts agree that Ethereum has unleashed the power of blockchain like no other blockchain project has. Let me walk you through different cool things Ethereum is achieving. For example, Ethereum made it possible to create decentralized applications, or dApps. Ethereum introduced the concept of decentralized applications, those applications that operate under no one's authority. For example, consider Facebook and Twitter. These are two centralized applications. Their operations are under the management and control of the company's founders and boards, who wield power over the application's operations. Do you remember stories about Donald Trump being banned in Twitter, or Google really getting involved in the election campaign, and so on and so forth? Decentralized applications are the complete opposite of this. Here is how. No ownership. Once a dApp goes on Ethereum, that's it. The owner cannot decide or retract their app. That means your favorite dApp will remain available indefinitely. Censorship resistant. dApps are free from censorship and restrictions. Remember social platform Parler being kicked off Amazon and Apple. If the app was on Ethereum, this could not have happened. Also, dApps have no downtime. Unlike a regular app, a decentralized app is unlikely to go down. dApps are based on a distributed network of computers around the world. Even if a few computers or servers went down, the network will remain standing. Frictionless payments. Centralized app users often have to jump through hoops to be able to pay for services. If a user doesn't have a bank account, they can forget about accessing some services altogether. dApps feature built-in payments via the Ethereum blockchain, making transactions seamless for everyone. Security is another important factor. A bad actor would find it a tall order to bring down a dApp because they couldn't possibly target all the computers running in the network. Even if they could, it could be a colossal expense, not worth the trouble. And immutability. Blockchain systems are unalterable. They're built so that once information goes on the network, that information cannot be hacked, deleted, or edited. For example, if Facebook was based on Ethereum, no one could delete your posts. Decentralized finance is another great advantage of Ethereum network. Decentralized finance, also spelled as DeFi, is the idea and belief that everyone, regardless of their origin, gender, or social status, should have access to the global financial system. Today, at least around 2 billion people remain unbanked. This means no savings, no access to loans, and no protection from unforeseen crises. DeFi aims to democratize finance by doing away with intermediaries and central authority. All you need to access DeFi is an internet connection. It does not matter whether you have an ID or not, or live in some far-flung place away from civilization. DeFi is powered by smart contracts, meaning you not only save time and costs, But you also don't have to participate in tedious identification and verification processes to unlock services. And there is no bank inspecting you or your source of money, scrutinizing your credit story or using their bureaucratic maneuvers that exclude people from the finance system. DeFi is a radical idea that puts financial autonomy and control where it should be, in the hands of users. It wrests economic power from centralized, rigid structures and gives it back to regular people, like you and me. A high-flying corporate titan in New York has the same access to financial services as a local grocer in rural Uganda. An astonishing 100 billion plus is locked in DeFi in 2021. That's a dramatic jump from around 2 billion in January this year. Another feature of Ethereum network is non-fungible tokens. Maybe you also heard the abbreviation NFT. It cannot be exchanged or replaced for another. NFTs are blockchain-based versions of non-fungible digital assets. An NFT is rare, indivisible, unique, and verifiable thanks to the blockchain. While NFTs has been around for years, they were thrust in the limelight when Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey sold the first ever tweet for $2.9 million in March 2021. In the same month, digital artist Beeple added 55 million to his balance sheet after his NFT art piece ranked in a whopping $69 million. And of course, who could forget CryptoKitties? This is the Ethereum-based Kittyverse game that lets people buy, sell, and trade virtual cats. The game was such a hit that it threatened to overload the Ethereum blockchain as users flooded in. I can't describe the full power of Ethereum without mentioning decentralized autonomous organizations, which is also called DAOs. DAOs are a welcome organizational phenomenon that is not influenced by hierarchy. These organizations are run exclusively by smart contracts. A DAO's operations are entirely anonymous of human input, although humans have made the code and rules that should run the organizations. Thanks to blockchain technology, all processes are completely transparent, eliminating the incidence of fraud. Now you have better understanding what Ethereum is and why it matters for the whole cryptocurrency and blockchain innovations market. But let's have a look at the general cryptocurrency market these days. Do you know how many cryptocurrencies are there? According to the data from CoinMarketCap, there are more than 12,000 of different cryptocurrencies existing on the market these days. New tokens are popping up all the time, each with a different use case and backstory. Here is a statistic that reveals how top-heavy the market is. The top 5 cryptocurrencies are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Tether, and Binance Coin. They represent more than 70% of the crypto sector's market capitalization. A sizable number of the cryptocurrencies in circulation are forks. For example, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV have split off from BTC. Ethereum split off of Ethereum Classic, and some argue that Stellar is a hard fork of XRP. When it comes to how many cryptocurrencies will survive, it's worth remembering that there is a rather extensive graveyard of the digital assets that are no longer active. Many of these relate to initial coin offerings that were held during the boom of 2017 and 18. We will talk about it in other videos in more details. In some cases, projects never came to fruition, and some investors lost a sizable sum of money. There are 7 main types of crypto assets out there. They include payment-focused digital assets, such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, stablecoins, such as Tether, which have value pledged to an underlying asset, such as US dollar, for example. If you have 1 USDT, it will be most likely related to the value of 1 USD dollar. Central bank digital currencies, a digitized version of fiat money that has been embraced by countries like Sweden and China. There are also privacy coins, which are designed to deliver anonymity to senders and receivers. There are governance tokens, which give owners the right to vote in decisions affecting the blockchain's future development. There are utility tokens, which unlock access to particular services and features, and non-fungible tokens, which we described previously, where each token has unique characteristics that separates them from all others.